Well, it's been a long time since we've done another episode of Kirkin Out. So it's the holiday season, and I always like bringing in people that I've known for a long time and to go over their journey and to see where they are today and what makes them special and who they are, especially in the world of television. So I'm very happy to bring in Darrius Smith. He's a news photographer at 41 Action News in Kansas City. We go back to Montgomery, Alabama. That's where we first crossed paths. So, Darrius, I do have to ask you, I know you're from Detroit. How did you end up in Alabama and really just get started in this journey of television?
Well, Kurt, first of all, man, thanks for having me on here, man. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, man. Like you said at the beginning, you and I go way back. Montgomery, Alabama, CBS 8. We're everywhere. I had to stick that in there. So, well, to start my journey, born and raised in Detroit. How did I end up in Alabama I ended up going to Alabama State University. It's HBCU. I started there the year of 2009, and I was blessed enough to graduate in 2012. So that's how I ended up in Alabama. Along the way, I started at CBS 8 as an intern and everything, working in the sports department under sports director D. Jackson and Stu McCann, who was also the the other sports reporter that was there at the time too. So I started there in the summer as an intern, covering the minor league baseball team, the Montgomery Biscuits, and any and everything. University of Alabama, University of Auburn, Alabama State, obviously, Faulkner University, Huntington, Tuskegee. We did it all. That's how I ended up en route to Alabama. And you know, people ask me, with me being from Detroit, like, you went from Detroit to Alabama and everything like that. Like, how did, like it is a story behind it. I mean, what I'm saying, I don't want to get too deep into it, but one of the reasons why I went to Alabama is because I had family in Alabama, and you know, relocating to Alabama was always on my list of things to do during that time when I was in Detroit. I always wanted to come back, be around, my family, because throughout the summer growing up, we always traveled to Alabama for vacation. We also have family in the Pike County area, which is where the University of Troy is at. And I left out Troy University. We covered Troy too. I'm sorry.
Go Trojans. The Trojans, baby. We all know about the Trojans up in here.
Yeah. I'm like, dang, I left out the Trojans.
When I think Trojans, I don't think USC, Southern Cal. Get out of here. It's all about Troy, right? It's all about Troy, baby.
Absolutely. And so I got family along lines in that area as well. And yeah, I always always knew I was going to end up coming to Alabama just to kickstart what ended up be a great career for myself. It was the best move, the best decision I made, leaving Detroit and going to Alabama for the time. Yeah, I love telling the story because it's like, well, I had family, I had support, I had people helping me along the way. And, and to this day, one thing that my family down there told me, when I proceeded to leave, always try to pay it forward to somebody who's, trying to make a better life for themselves and try to, put themselves in a position to be successful. And that was the one thing I took away from my time in Alabama and trying to proceed with that as I'm here in Kansas City.
Yeah. Been a pretty cool journey so far. I mean, same thing. People are asking you, you're from Detroit to Alabama. People were wondering how the heck I ended up down there, out of Virginia. And hey, life just takes you down a cool path and it takes you where it leads you. And I can tell you're just exactly like me. I'm so happy that we ended up ironically in the same place. We got to experience a lot of the same things, and we can go back and touch on that a little bit. And I know we mentioned that you're in Kansas City now and you get to see a lot of cool things. Not only do you do news, but you do sports just like you've been doing, your entire professional career. And being in Kansas City right now is not a bad time to be in Kansas City. I do want to start off with this. They're Super Bowl champions, and you weren't just someone that got to watch them on TV. You were actually with them throughout this championship experience. So what was that like, you know, at a personal level, a professional level, to to experience something like the Super Bowl, which is something I've never done and not a lot of people in this business get to do.
Kurt, it was incredible. It was incredible. Wow. I mean, being in Miami and just looking forward to getting up every morning, to go cover their press conferences and interact with the players one on one, and and just it was incredible because I I I took the experience that I learned traveling to Pasadena, California, where we covered the national championship with Auburn and Florida State. I leaned on that experience, and I was able to apply that experience to this with the Kansas City Chiefs going to the Super Bowl in Miami, and it was just incredible because just being around the team, watching them, covering them, and seeing the growth process of the team and looking at the end result of them ended up in the Super Bowl was incredible because Patrick Mahomes is everything that is advertised. He like you watch this guy up close and personal. No, well, I don't want to say personal, but up close every Sunday, and it's like you don't know where the ball's going to go. You don't know what's about to happen. Like play in and play out. It's incredible. But he's everything as advertised, and being there at the Super Bowl, with them trailing and coming back. In my mind, I knew something phenomenal was about to happen, and it happened. You know, by them trailing and they coming back, scoring multiple touchdowns in the second half, and about to win that Super Bowl, you saw the hard work paying off. You saw the resilience of the team. You saw, Andy Reid finally getting to a place whereas he can say, "I am a Super Bowl winning head football coach." And Andy Reid's a legend. He's arguably top five, maybe top three of the greatest head football coaches in the NFL. And to see that up close and personal and being on the field for that was just simply incredible. And that is one moment. That is a moment that I can take with me that I can tell the stories and just talk about, even having the pictures, and it was just incredible. It was just a great moment. It was a great time, and that is something that I would cherish for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Where does it rank, let's say, in your profession? So you've been to the national championship games. We were there together. You've been to bowl games. You've been to the Super Bowl. Were you in Kansas City? I can't remember offhand. Were you in KC when the Royals were in the World Series or not yet?
Yes. What's funny you should mention that. I started in Kansas City the first week of August of 2014.
Oh, there you go.
And
Yeah.
right. And that was during the time where the Royals was catching fire. They was getting hot at the right time. And that ended up carrying itself to the World Series that year. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to cover the World Series with the Kansas City Royals. Like I kept saying this to myself, like the Kansas City Royals are in the World Series.
Yeah, what
Like,
year is this?
right. Like, what year is this?
Yeah, where's George Brett? I don't see George Brett out there.
and watching that team, it was like there was no quit in that team. There was no quit. They wouldn't give up. They wouldn't surrender. There was always a fight in that team because wow. I mean, I can't even get the words out. Like even just looking back, that team was incredible. And say what you want, they could have easily been back-to-back World Series champions. They really could have. And it was that was a great ride right there. Like, what guy like myself, coming to Kansas City at the right time, and then you at going to Kauffman Stadium just like throughout the month of October, just covering postseason games and going to press conferences and doing the occasional fan package, of course, but it was a big deal. So, and it was incredible. It was incredible. It was monumental. And just to be there at the right time, just to get on that ride, it was a moment. But to go back to your original question, where would I rank that? It's definitely top three.
Yeah.
It's definitely top three. That's where I
Yeah.
would rank going to Miami to cover the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's definitely top three.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool experience. And to expand upon, your role as a photographer, to put it in simplest terms for people, if you are just totally naive and just like, well, I don't exactly understand, you're the person, that makes the on-air talent look good. You're the person that gets all the highlights usually for all the plays. Like without your role in getting those, let's say, post-game celebration shots right in the locker room or something when Kansas City wins the World Series or the Super Bowl, the champagne's flying, everybody's wrapped up in waterproof gear or whatever it is and have their goggles on. It's your role is very important there, and to make sure you capture all of those moments. And is there any, I know sometimes people always ask me, like, I've been on the field for a lot of big moments. You're on the field for the kick six. You're recording all these iconic moments. They happen once, sports happens once. It doesn't happen again. It happens and then it's over. Have you ever felt any pressure and being like, I have to capture this? Or it to you, is it just, this is my job. This is what I love to do. I know I'm going to do it well. And at the end of the day, I'm going to get those moments and it's going to be such a cool experience.
You want to talk about pressure? That kick six.
That was pretty wild. I was feeling the pressure and I was just looking, and you were there with right behind the viewfinder. And I know it's a really, and you get to see a different view than everybody else gets to see too, which I think a lot of people don't always understand. You're on the field or in the stands for those moments, that's your eyes, and you're the one, your video for whatever it is going to be solidified in history, whether it's on YouTube or in that TV station's archives. Without your footage, then it doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And being right there for that moment, that was crazy. That was crazy. Because I was in a position where I believe it was Chris Davis who returned it, right? For Auburn. I believe Chris Davis, I was in a position where Chris Davis was running towards me when he ran past the 50-yard line past all the Alabama players. And I remember, and I will never forget this. I'm over here like, oh, and then the follow like, oh my god, they about to score, I'm thinking this in my head, and then he crossed the goal line, he gets tackled. There was a moment there where I stood on the shot, and I was like, and even I thought this to myself too. I was like, what do I do next? Like, oh, okay, I guess I run through the crowd, run through, get that, and then all of a sudden, you hearing and feeling fans coming from the stands onto the field, and you only see that on TV. But I was on the field too, and you was also on the field too. I actually experienced that, and that was crazy. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is a moment right here. There's another moment where I'm in a position, whereas I'm capturing this. I'm getting all the emotion. I'm getting the celebratory, handshakes, high fives, all that. That moment right there, and it's still being talked about. And it's just to say that I was on the field to capture that. And I don't know if you remember, there's also an image. I think it was about a Montgomery advertiser that actually saw Chris Davis, and we are in the same framing shot. Whereas we all is just stunned, like it's about to happen. I'm making sure I got the camera and I'm just following this. But in my mind, I'm just like, like, wow. It's like just looking back at that one. That was another incredible moment. Just another incredible moment. Wow.
Yeah. It's a weird, I know I've been in situations where I'm like, the play's happening and like a split second in my mind, I'm like, man, I hope I really did hit record. Like, I just wanted to make sure that I do see that little red dot on the screen. And it's always just funny because, yeah, I mean, it's really cool. And then you have to go back and see that stuff. And I mean, you shot the heck out of that play for us and we were able to use it. I'm sure, heck, they probably still use it in all those Iron Bowl previews about what's coming up and what's next, So yeah, it's just some wild experiences. But the sports aspect of things, I've worked in sports and news, just like you work in news and sports right now as well. The sports is fun. It's a little bit more loose. News
Yeah.
is a completely different story. Your role, you switch back and forth from time to time. Is it hard to sometimes go from you're covering some big moments in some games to then all of a sudden have to hit the switch, and then now you're covering something terrible that happened? Maybe it was a car accident, someone unfortunately passed away. Those are moments and situations that you have to bounce back and forth so many times.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In the beginning, when I got started in Montgomery, and because you gotta understand, when I got hired on full time, you know, it, I was gonna have opportunities to work in sports, but my main job was to do news and stuff. I want to say, and I didn't say this in the beginning, but like, I also got hired on at CBSA as like a part-time AP and all that. But my primary purpose was to work in sports and everything. As
Yeah.
a matter of fact, I think the time when I got that position, I was working with you, mostly like doing high school, college, and all of that, because I know I was with you throughout the course of the week when Alabama went to the national championship. I think they played Notre Dame that time. And I know you and I was, you know, um, holding it down in the sports department and stuff during that time when I was the part
That would
time.
have been, I think that was LSU, right? I think it was the
I,
LSU one.
I want to say,
My
okay, the
first year.
LSU game.
Because I didn't go to New Orleans for that one, but I did go to Miami for the Notre Dame one. So yeah, I think it's LSU.
That would have been the new. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
good catch, man. I like that. So no, so then once I get hired on, of course, it's always yeah, you got to switch the mindset. Like, okay, I'm in news today and everything like that. I'm working by myself or working with a reporter and stuff like that. The main thing to me that I learned, doing that, going back and forth, is communication is really the key. And it's always having a sense as to what is the expectation, going in day in and day out. If that means talking with the executive producer or talking with your reporter, going back and forth as to figuring out, what's the expectations for the story going into the day. Do I need to go shoot? Do we got file video? Do I need to pull that? Do I need to try to, you know, do something creative or something like that, and stuff like that. Communication is definitely the key when you're going back and forth, because at the end of the day, when you're working in news, you always, it always revert somewhere back to sports, because sports will always call you and say, hey, you got that such and such play that you got, that we got, this is we know where I can find it and everything like that. So it goes kind of hand in hand, because once you're in the building of a TV station, yeah, you doing news, but sports needs something and you're not doing anything. Of course, you want to revert back to try to help them out any way you can and stuff. But I don't want to say the process as far as flipping the switch is easy, but what I rely on in my experience is just communication. That's what I rely on. And just don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, if you got to ask a bunch of questions just to, make sure we all on the same page so we can do the best job we can, that's key and everything like that. And that's one thing that I rely on, just total communication and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And always just being mindful of every single situation, and knowing the job you have to accomplish,
Absolutely.
and your flexibility too, being able to bounce around different shifts, different days of the week, different hours. That's television. That's kind of the way it goes. And you get to experience a lot of different things. That kind of rolls into my next thought of 2020 has been terrible. I mean, let's just put it in simplest terms. And I know television wise and sports wise, it's been a really weird and interesting year. We've gone over, you go to games all the time, practices, press conferences. Now those have all changed, right? You have Zoom press conferences, practices are few and far between. What has changed in this 2020 NFL season? I know everybody sees it on television. Sometimes fans are allowed. A lot of places fans aren't allowed. How weird is it now to cover a Chiefs game following a Super Bowl win in the season now where you can't have a packed stadium, you can't be on the field, and you're shooting from the stands?
It it is completely weird because I'm not allowed on the field at all. It is weird. And then for them to come off winning a Super Bowl into a season like no other, whereas you got a certain percentage of fans that's only allowed to the stadium. You feel the energy a little bit, but you don't feel it at its full capacity. And what I mean by that is the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, they have the record for the loudest stadium in the NFL at 142.2 decibels and everything like that. When I you can feel it when it's a packed stadium. And I've had the honor and pleasure of feeling that every Sunday. And then once it's packed, once it's sold out and everything, I felt it even when they won the AFC Championship game to advance to the Super Bowl. It was loud. It was amazing. Excuse me. And and then now you segue from what we're accustomed to seeing to this season. It's been different. It's been different. As I try to put the words in perspective, it's incredible because we didn't see this. Like, we didn't see this happening. I mean, we thought, okay, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna have a packed stadium. We're gonna celebrate. We're gonna have a good time. With the Chiefs. Super Bowl champs and stuff like that. But now it's like, I'm grateful to see certain fans be allowed to the stadium. But I'm not, even myself. Even at the beginning of the season, I wasn't accustomed to it because week in and week out, I'm always formulating something like, okay, which side of the stadium I'm gonna go and shoot this game. Like, what's going to be, my goals as far as, at the end of the game and what to expect and stuff like that. So, but nobody saw this coming. I mean, it's unfortunate, and I'm hoping between, at the start of the year and at the start of the end of next year, we'll be out of this, as we can maybe go back to a sense of normalcy. But that starts with us. We have to, look out for the next person, so to make sure we all okay, and then that way we can start the process of going back to normal. And and that starts with us and everything. Just wear your mask and take every safety precaution. And that's one thing I try to go in. When I'm getting ready to shoot a game or either going to work. I gotta think about my colleagues, my coworkers too, and also think about myself as well. Just try to protect ourselves and everything like that. And and it's one thing I will say, it definitely gave me a perspective. Whereas if we do get back to normal, some of the things that I was able to put myself in the habit of doing, I don't want to change. I don't want to change that because it put me in a position. Whereas I'm thinking about other people and everything, and I want to make sure other people are safe, because we don't want to experience this again and everything. And moving forward, if anything I need to do, just to make sure, we don't experience this again, I'm all for it and stuff. So, but yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, I didn't see this coming, but we're here now. We're making the best situation out of what it is. And the season, well, we got 2 more weeks left of the season, I believe. And we'll see what happens. But we all just gotta just hang in there and do what's right and just think about other people in this difficult year.
One last thing I want to ask you, and then we'll switch things up a little bit, is when it comes to Kansas City, it's obviously a professional sports town, but you're right on the border. It's also Kansas, it's also Missouri. Where do the teams rank in terms of, let's take professional sports out of it, but now let's get down to the colleges. Obviously, there's Kansas State, there's Kansas, there's Mizzou. What's kind of that pecking order, so to speak, and what people really focus on out there?
Oh,
Don't burn any bridges now. Don't burn any bridges. Hey, I'll put it this way. When I was in Toledo, it was still Ohio, right? Even though I was closer to Detroit and closer to Ann Arbor is probably more of an Ohio State crowd. You know, there are tons of Michigan fans, but there was also, you know, Toledo fans and Bowling Green fans in town. But, you know, at that
Yeah.
larger school level, yeah, you might have been closer to Michigan and closer to Detroit, but Ohio, for the most part, is mostly about Ohio State. So that's kind of what I'm on the lines of, is what is kind of the preferences in Kansas City. Obviously, you know, Kansas basketball is a lot bigger than than their football team, so to speak. So that's how I'm trying to
True.
save you. That's how I'm trying to save you.
See, I know, and I appreciate it. I
No
appreciate it.
personal
All I'm gonna say
preferences
is,
here. We love everybody.
right. All I'm gonna say is that when it comes to Missouri, the University of Missouri and University of Kansas, just watch out. Watch out. Matter of fact, I'm actually excited because I know the border war, the two schools, you know, obviously it's a rivalry, the border war is coming back real soon with basketball as well as football and everything. All I'm gonna say is, like, you know, KU, when it comes to basketball, definitely KU. Football, definitely want to say Missouri, you know, because Missouri has had tremendous success than KU football, obviously, especially in since Missouri made the move to the SEC. But KU basketball with Bill Self, you know, established coach, established program, very historic. You know, if you're on the Missouri side, you got your MIZ, ZOU, and when you're on the Kansas side, you got your Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
There you go.
And yeah, and it's incredible. It's incredible because once this border war commence, watch out. Just watch out. That's all I
Yeah.
gotta say.
Hey, that's a good point, man. No, it's a good point. It's cool to hear though. It's always, excuse me, I always think it's just kind of interesting to hear, you know, what certain cities are like, and where they lean, you know, and a lot of it depends on, you know, depends on the alumni base, depends on who lives where
Absolutely.
and what they're doing. So it's always cool. I think the neat thing for you is you get to see all those sides. You get to experience all of it in whatever situations and levels of success that all those schools and teams, professional or college or even high school wise, have. And that's always a cool thing to do, and say, hey, you know, you got to experience both sides of the rivalry instead of just one side of it, kind of like we did in Alabama, seeing them all firsthand. So it's
Oh
been
yeah. Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. All right. So now I want to flip the script a little bit. I obviously grilled you, probably asked you some really hard questions. So I apologize. No, but do you have anything for me? Are there any burning, you know, we've known each other for, I mean, we're getting close to 10 years now, believe it or not. So what
Boy.
things do you wonder about me, that you might not have ever asked me before? And if these aren't good questions, then I'm not going to air this. So no pressure. No pressure.
What was going through your mind during that pick six? Oh man, the
During
kick six. I'm
during the kick
sorry.
six, during
Yeah.
when Chris, I mean, same thing as you, man. It was just like wondering why. I mean, they're kicking it, and it all kind of happened in a weird sequence, right? If I'm remembering it correctly, because it's 2013, but
Yeah.
Nick Saban sends out the kicking unit, and I don't think at first Alabama had or Auburn had somebody back. I can't remember if there was a timeout or whatever, but I think there was something that I remember going through my mind where I kind of looked and I was like, wait, someone's heading back. And I was like, oh, they're obviously, if the ball comes up short, you can catch it and potentially
That's
bring
it.
it back. But that's the only thing I'm really thinking of. It's just like, I get what they're doing, but also, I mean, like, you know, it's like it's like onside kicks, right? It was like, it's probably not going to be recovered usually. You know, that's just the odds of things. So like, I see someone go back there. Yeah. And then it was kind of the same thing as you, just watching it happen, and your mind's kind of slowly processing as it happens. You're just like, all right, the kick is up. All right, it looks like it's short. Oh, he caught it. Okay, and he's running back. Oh, he's going that. Oh, now there's space. Is there space? Oh my gosh, there's space. Oh my gosh, there's blocks. Oh my gosh, there's open grass. And it's just like happening so fast in your mind that yeah, it was just a weird experience, and obviously one we'll all remember. And then obviously just being caught on the field afterwards as fans stormed the field was just pretty crazy. But yeah, I think for me, just having it happen and knowing how rare a play like that is to happen, right? I think it's kind of like if you go to a baseball game and you see a triple play, you're like, whoa, that doesn't happen a lot. I mean, stuff like that just doesn't happen all the time. And more so the magnitude of the game. You know, it was playing for a trip to the SEC championship. And then most likely, obviously, whoever Alabama and Auburn were the best teams, whoever won, you knew was probably going to win the SEC championship and go to the national championship game. So I think just processing it as it happened and knowing that it probably shouldn't happen, but it is. And this is going to be something that's talked about for a long time.
I got to ask, you worked in Toledo. I know you covered Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah, man.
What was the coolest thing to cover with them versus covering Alabama, Auburn? No, two great rivalries right there.
Yeah, I think for me, starting, when you cover Alabama, Auburn, you're just like, gosh, is there really anything else like this? And you're told there isn't, right? Because you're in that area. It's what you're experiencing. And to an extent, yeah, there really is not much else like it. But if you look at college football and you say, give me those rivalries, right? Give me those big games where everybody always, everybody knows about them. It's two schools that are well known. And whenever they're on TV, it's probably a nationally televised game in a good time slot on a good network. Alabama, Auburn. And the next thing I think, at least for me growing up, was Ohio State, Michigan. And that's what I got to cover afterwards. So being able to see those programs in the same way I saw Alabama and Auburn was eye-opening. I think the thing for me that I'll take away the most is the star power of the head coaches. And that would be, I got there during Jim Harbaugh's first year, and we know it's been a little bit rough, I guess you could say, since he was hired, but to have him and Urban Meyer on the other side, and basically knowing that Ohio State had been dominating that recently, and Jim Harbaugh is here to try to change things. So seeing that firsthand, a guy that came from the NFL, who was in a Super Bowl, and Urban Meyer's there, that to me is what kind of stood out the most, was just also seeing that and then knowing the passion of the fan bases, the exact same as it is anywhere else. People love their team and they love them. So to me, it was being able to be like, wow, we're all the same, right? No matter how big or small your school is, no matter how many fans are in the stands, how you have a 100-seat stadium, or if you have a 40,000 seat stadium, everybody's the same. So yeah, being able to see that firsthand, but also the differences in the conference. The Big Ten is very different than the SEC. It's cold weather cities mostly. The weather, it's not always going to be great. You're playing in November and it's not 60 degrees and sunny. It's probably going to be cold and windy. And I was there for some very cold and windy games, but that kind of added to it. Everybody's bundled up. So I got to see some cool memories up there too that I'll never forget in that rivalry. So it was a very neat experience, to say the least.
Cool. That's what's up. I gotta ask you about the Washington football team. Just the whole state of that division. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you guys, the team is in first place, right?
Yeah, and they're with a losing record. It's it's a minimalist dream, just to be okay, and then have everybody else be okay too. And yeah, it's been a weird season, to say the least.
Right, but then Alex Smith comes back. Just pump some confidence into this team because in my honest opinion, because you guys beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and obviously you beat the Cowboys, but everybody don't like the Cowboys and everything like that. But 2 games out, you guys can win this division and go to the playoffs. And who knows, even if y'all win a playoff game, I mean, I know that's but it's just looking at that, it's like, wow. I'm like, and then what stood out to me about the team, you guys got that front four. Oh boy, it's man,
yeah, like it's really good.
And just your initial thought. I mean, I didn't know what the expectation was going through the year, but like, did you like see this, from the start of the season?
No, because I kind of thought they'd be in that. I'm not too far off from it. I kind of figured like 5 wins or so. So what, they have
Six,
7 right now,
six, I
6 or 7.
believe. Yeah.
I just, yeah. So regardless, you knew they'd be better. You just didn't know how that movement forward would look. You knew the defense would step up because adding Chase Young to that group that was already progressing towards being one of the best in the league. You add that type of talent to it, and they're able to rotate guys so well that you knew their defense was going to basically be what kept this team together, and it still is. It wasn't until I think Alex Smith came in that you saw the difference in what game management looks like. Um,
Absolutely.
you were wondering how healthy he would be. And obviously, it was a little scary at first because you're just like, after what he went through, and you have a better understanding probably of who he is
Oh yeah.
because you got to cover him the way you did. But knowing what he went through and just what it took to get there, when he finally got that opportunity, you said, you're going to get a quarterback that, yeah, he isn't the way he used to be. He's older, he's had these injuries, but up here, he still has it. And I think
Yeah.
for the quarterback position, and you've seen it throughout the NFL for teams that didn't have an elite quote unquote quarterback, like an all time great, but they still won. They still went to a Super Bowl and won. It was because of their game management. You had talent around them on both sides of the ball, and you just needed someone to make the right decisions because there is a difference. And you see this more than I do when you cover it the way you do. There's a difference between throwing that ball away and making and trying to make that pass. And that can be the difference in winning or losing a game. I want to say it was a college game the other day where the guy threw the ball up. It was basically third down and he tried to stretch it and the ball ends up getting intercepted. If they would have just thrown it away, they still live, right? They still have 4th and 10.
Yeah. 4th and 10, yeah.
But that's the kind of player I think Alex Smith is he has those decisions. Haskins was a reach in the first round. They had Kyle Allen as the backup. So once he took over, then he unfortunately got hurt, and that put Smith in there. It's been a weird season. I think you see what the team can do moving forward now. And now they're probably falling too far down in the draft to find that next quarterback, at least next year. Maybe they'll make a trade, free agent signing. Who knows? But I think the future's there. It looks like they've made enough decisions at an organizational level that'll move them on the right path. But at the end of the day, I'm being honest, Dan Snyder owns the team. Today we're recording this on Tuesday, and there's more things coming out about Washington in the news that doesn't make him or the franchise look good. And that's the problem. They'll never get to that point unless they truly make a change. I don't know if that means new ownership. I don't know exactly what that means, but it can't be done the way it's been done. But they hired, Wright to be in charge of, more football things. Now they've made a lot of different changes. Ron Rivera is well respected in the league and within the team. So I think they're finally figuring out what ownership in terms of at a personal level means for players and coaches and people in the staff, where take ownership of what your job is. And if everybody does that, then you can be successful. If it's too individualistic,
Okay, it starts at the top.
yeah. And then, this goes for any job, right? Any career. If you're in it for yourself, we all want to do well, right? We all want to be the best at what we do, make the most money, whatever it is. But you don't usually get to that point unless the people around you are also pulling their weight. But that makes everybody better. I think that's where Washington's at right now. If they keep making smart decisions, bringing in the right players, spending the money properly, then yeah, they can get to that point. But it's the NFC East, though. No matter how down Philadelphia might be right now, they're always probably going to be there. Dallas is always going to spend money, and Dak will come back, and he's a talented quarterback. He's hot and cold sometimes to people, but at the end of the day, he's really good at his job. And, the Giants will probably maybe figure out a new quarterback situation or whatever it is. It's New York, baby, right? There's money, there's all of that. So it's a tough division this year. They're getting a little lucky that everybody else is down. But I think this shows what winning is like for a lot of those young players that haven't gotten to experience it yet. And, sometimes they say that experience is what catapults you moving forward, because you have to have that experience. And then you also got to suffer that heartbreak to know what it takes to be elite at that next level.
One last thing, man. College football playoff, obviously Alabama #1. What's your gut telling you? What you think what's going to happen?
I mean, I don't think you can go away from Alabama right now, right? I mean, their defense, I mean, seeing what Florida was able to do against them, I think is a little bit scary. So let's say, for example, if most people probably think it's going to be Bama Clemson, right? So if they played Clemson, does Clemson do that to them, to their defense like Florida did? But can you put it past Nick Saban and them to lose again in a game like that? I think you have to focus on Alabama right now. Although I'm disappointed though. I wanted Cincinnati to make it. Give me those other teams over Notre Dame. Not that Notre Dame's bad, but I think in this weird world, it would have been cool to see a team like Cincinnati make it. But I think at the end of the day,
Iowa State, because I want Iowa State to be Oklahoma in the
yeah.
I'm putting that on tape on there.
Good old Matt Campbell, man. Matt Campbell, former I covered him for 1 year at Toledo. Good dude, great coach. Boy. I mean, yeah, when he went to Iowa State, everybody, at least in the MAC, you're familiar with the MAC, being from Detroit.
Yeah.
Like that part of everybody's like, man, this guy's a good coach. He's going to do some big things there. And he got to Iowa State and he's like, we're going to win these games. People probably looked at him funny, but he knows what he's doing. So yeah, I mean, It would have been. I think right now you got to lean towards Bama, just because it would be probably dumb to pick it against them. But I don't see Notre Dame handling them if they couldn't handle Clemson. So, and I think right now I'm a little worried with Ohio State, and just their lack of games, but I just don't know if they have enough to beat Clemson. Not that they can't hang in there, but right now, I mean, we've seen Clemson more, and I think I've watched them play enough to go like, yeah, they're a little bit better than Ohio State. If Ohio State had 10 games in them, might think otherwise, but they didn't look great against Northwestern, even though they won. I guess great is a relative term, whatever people want to take out of it. They still won the game and was like 22-10 or something. So I think I'm leaning towards Bama right now. I appreciate you hanging out with me, bud. It's always good to see you, and best of luck moving forward. And I hope the Chiefs go far and you get to cover some more cool things this year, and all the teams that you cover continue to do well. And hopefully those Detroit teams also, at the end of the day, make you feel good, because that's what it's all about, is your love of your hometown teams.
That's what it's all about, man. I ride or die for my hometown teams, man. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But no, man, it's been an honor, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. Thank you so much.